In this video, I'm going to show you how you can test your web browsers for vulnerabilities. And if you found the video on YouTube, I will provide a link below the video that has links to sites that will test your browser. And the first one I recommend is using Browser Audit. Now, Browser Audit, when you click this link, it will have a button that you can hit Test Me, and it will test over 400 vulnerabilities. And when it's finished, you can click down here to view more about the results. But because there is 400 tests that it runs, it will take several minutes. So what I've done is I have multiple browsers on my system. I give the results of the browser, and you can go through the slideshow, you can pause it, and you can manually go through it itself. Now, one thing I do want to point out is on my Chrome, here it is, on Chrome on my Ubuntu Mate, and there's the version, it did come up with 2 critical errors. And so I went to my laptop that I also had Ubuntu Mate, and it came up with 2 critical errors. I do have one system that I do have Windows on, and the Windows system, it did not have the critical error. So when you view these, all of these except for this one that is in Windows, these are the results for it. So if you hit the play button and look through here, these are on Ubuntu. So there could be a discrepancy between the platform that you're using. So don't just take, for example, that all of these right here may be the same ratings as yours. If you have extensions, the extensions can also play a factor in the vulnerabilities as well. So that way you want to make sure you have reputable extensions within your browser. Another great one is called Cover Your Tracks. Now, when you click on Cover Your Tracks, if you do have the extension of Malwarebytes, it will tell you that it's trying to block some malware, because this site will try to test your browser, and so that's a good thing that it's doing. It's not a bad thing. So when you go to click the Test Your Browser button, it will go through in multiple tests, and then it will give you, it's saying that it's trying to do malicious activity. That's because it's testing your browser. So don't think that there's a virus on this website. I just wanted to point that out. And when it's finished, it'll give you the results. So it says blocking tracking ads, yes it will. Blocking invisible trackers, yes it will. Protecting your fingerprinting. Your browser has a unique fingerprint. You can click this to learn more about the test, or you can simply scroll down. So I wanted to let you know, if you do have that this website is not trying to put malicious malware on your system. It's just because it's running a test on the system. So here's what it looks like per each one of them. So the browsers that I have on my system, I was very surprised that most current browsers, if you keep them updated, do have great security. So I'm not really pushing any particular browser, because it's subjective on saying which browser is the best. It depends upon what you're using it for. Now, if for safety reason, there's might be some browsers that are more safe than others, like the Tor browser or the Moldvid browser. However, you can tweak the Firefox browser so that it's just as good. You can harden the browser, and I'm not going to get into this particular video. Now, am I unique? Now, this is something I'm using the LibreWolf browser to show this web page. And when I go to Am I Unique, and once it loads and I click the button, I can accept this, but when I click See My Fingerprint, it's going to go through in a moment and give you a test, the results of it. And when it comes up, I wanted to point 2 things out about this website. It'll take a while, and then it'll come up with the results. The thing about the LibreWolf is it says yes, you're unique amongst how many fingerprints on their database. Notice it tells me my operating system is Windows, where I'm using a Firefox. LibreWolf is a fork of Firefox, and I am using the English language, and it does show my time zone, but I'm not using the Windows operating system. So it really does kind of distinct. If I was visiting at a website, they would think that I'm actually using Windows, using the LibreWolf with the default settings. Now, if I go to the Flort browser, which I recently did a video on how to install and how to use the Flort browser. Flort browser is a fork of Mozilla Firefox, but one of the things that within this browser is you can simply scroll down and you can choose to spoof this particular website or this particular browser. By default it's set to use as Firefox. You can spoof it to look like a Chrome web browser on a Windows system, Chrome on Mac, Chrome on Linux, Chrome on iOS, or you can choose like on Android if you have the information here. So let me click the Am I Unique, which I have here. So let me do my fingerprint on this. And once it's finished, I want you to look at the results of this. So this is something that kind of makes your browser unique in itself. Now, a lot of browsers are probably going to incorporate these so that it makes sure it looks like that you're using a different platform. As you can see here, this is a fork of Firefox, the Flort browser. And so it shows that I'm using a Chrome web browser, which I'm not. It makes it look like I'm using the Windows operating system, but I'm not. So for websites that keep data, track data, and record information, the Flort browser is going to mislead them, making it think that you're using a Chrome browser within the Windows environment, which not. So I just wanted to point that out, that there's lots of browsers now that are using security features that actually tricks on the other end. So these are websites that can detect and tell what operating systems. Most of the browsers did pick it right. Like if I look at Firefox, it is a Firefox browser. I am using the Linux operating system. With Flort, by the default, will show up as the Firefox, and it will detect here, but using the spoofing tool on it can show up as something different. Now, Cloudfare, if you click the Cloudfare browser, it will search and tell whether you have a secure DNS, the DNS SEC, the TLS, and the secure STN. So these are the default settings for the browsers. So if you see this right here, don't panic, because remember, it is from Cloudflare, and they're trying to say that if it's not 111, which is Cloudflare, that it kind of comes up with a question mark. Here it's not a red X, so that just simply means if you're using another secure DNS other than the Cloudflare, it may not show up. So it's in a question mark. So if I click on check my browser, which I'm clicking the screenshot, if I click the link to here, it will actually come up and I say check my browser, and as you can see here, it shows me I do have a secure DNS. All of these features are great. So LibreWolf out of the box comes with great securities, and I'll show you more about that on the very last link. And I'm not pushing for LibreFox. I'm just saying that the browser I'm currently using comes up with all the positives. So this is something that you might want to learn more about. So if you do have one of these right here as a red X, there shows you ways below that you can fix those problems by clicking onto it. Now, DNS leak test. Don't panic if it shows up your current IP address. You can hide your IP address by using a VPN or proxy. So I was using my VPN at the time that I did this. So this is not the current city I live in, and that was my IP address of the VPN. I decided to blur it out, or to kind of hide the IP address. So I'm not going to click that link. That link, you can do a standard test or you can do an extended test, and it will give you a little bit more information about that test from the site. It just gives you more information about your DNS link. So if you do come up with an X or a question mark here, you can run this one to get more information about it. Another link that you might want to test is your National Cyber Security Center. It's in the UK, and it will display your IP address. I'm not going to click on this one. It will display your IP address. You can hit check now, and it'll give you more information. Another link, as you can see, here's the results of it. It tells me that there were no vulnerabilities found in the example that I used here. Another one that you can do is checking your browser. You can click this link, say to check the browser, hit check now, and it will show you that there are no vulnerabilities found. So you might want to do this on your browsers occasionally, just to make sure that there's nothing within the browser that is causing it to have a vulnerability. Or it could be that maybe an update, something is wrong with that, or you may have a browser that's in question. This will let you know whether it is safe or not. On this particular one, you can click on that one and hit scan, and it will tell you, congratulations, you passed the browser check. And I'm not going to click on this one. It's not very long, and you can hit rescan if you think that the question, or if it came up with something questionable, you can go through and then rescan to see that you fixed what was in question. Here's the Shields Up link. If you click on that, you can click the Instant UPnP exposure test, and when it's finished, it will come up in green and say that's in good news, and you can read more about that. Now, this link here, you can click onto it, and it will say it's probably okay, and it will tell you each of these, like your version's good, you're currently using the most current modern version of that, so that gives you a good range. If it comes up in poor or bad, you can learn more about the ones that's not coming up in the good section. The next one is browser leaks. When you click this one here, it may expose your IP address, but it gives you individual links like your IP address, your WR. It has multiple things that you can click on. And even when you're on the website, you can even scroll down more and choose more test below. These are just some of the top ones that you can try. Then it has some additional links below that. This one also will reveal your IP address, but it will give a lot of information, and it has a lot of tests that it can run on the site. And I'm not going to take the time to run all of these. Now, this is one website that I wanted to point out. This particular website, and I'll hit trust on it, this particular website compares a lot of popular browsers, and you can go up here and say desktop private, iOS browsers, Android browsers, nightly build, nightly private modes. But this is in the desktop because I am using a desktop system. It compares some of the most popular browsers. It doesn't have Florp up here or Ghostry, but you can run the test for yourself. And these are a lot of different tests that runs. When you compare and you scroll down and look at those, the ones that have the highest ratings, if you look down, these are high, these are high, and these are high. The top three most private browsers by default are the Mulvid browser, the LibreWolf browser, the Brave browser, and the Tor browser. So those are your four most, by default settings, your private browsers. I'm not pushing for those because Firefox, even though it doesn't show up with the default, you can harden the Firefox. If you've never heard of hardening Firefox, you can bring up a search engine, or you can even go to YouTube and look up hardening Firefox. And even on my website, if you click on the Firefox link, I do have information at the bottom that shows you how you can make Firefox more secure. And Firefox does have a lot of good security features out of the box, but you can tweak it to make it more safe. But the thing I like about this website is you can click on any of these, like the Adobe, you can click on one of them and it will tell, this is not currently about the browser that I'm running. Like if I click on Opera, it will tell you why that showed up as an X. And it can click on Brave and it will show you why that one gets a green check. And you can click on any of these if you want to know more about them. Like if you want to know what that means, you can click onto it. So that whoever runs this website does a great job, number one, at maintaining it, but number two, making sure that you're not just looking at a list of data. You can click on it to understand what you're looking at within the rows, and then you can click on it to understand why it gets a green check or a red X. So this right here can be used if you're looking for a private browser without doing a lot of tweaks, without going through the settings or doing a lot of research on the internet. So like I said, this one looks at the Mulvid, the LibreWolf, the Brave, and the Tor browser. So if you're someone that's concerned about browser, making sure that it's not leaking your information across the internet, or if you're just concerned about privacy concerns, I do have a list of sites on my website that allows you to check your browser or all the browsers that are on your system. Hopefully this video has helped someone, and have a great day.